Welcome back to another episode of HODLUP. We're here in Paris, and with us today we have Ben Nadareski from Solstice. We had Ben in an episode back at Breakpoint, so what better way to catch up with him than to have him in another conversation? And so, Ben, thank you so much for joining us again.
Great to see you guys again.
It's a huge pleasure for us as well, and there's a lot of things that have happened since we last spoke. First of all, congrats on the TGE.
Thank you. It's been the TGE was a wild process across the board, but look, we're very happy to get SLX out to the market for all of our users. And
Yeah.
It was a key sign and milestone for the Solstice protocol.
Yeah, and we know that you cannot make everyone happy, right? And we've seen like the community feedback. We've seen what people have been saying. Personally, we joined the campaign for the flares right after we had the episode. You basically sold us the whole idea, and we were quite glad that we actually joined the campaign as well, because we've seen like the feedback from the community, and some have not been quite happy, and it's understandable because some people just join just for the sake of getting something out of it, and that's the whole issue with airdrops, and that's the whole bad conception that airdrops have gotten in recent months. So how has that been like? I mean, we did talk briefly about how you guys are planning it out in terms of not making sure that the price dumps, and you've done that remarkably well, like better than any other project that we know of in the last 18 months. And so yeah, like how did you guys, what was the thought process behind everything? Like how has that whole journey been for you?
Absolutely. So look, when it comes to any TGE and any token launch, especially on a utility and governance web, you have to make sure that what's most important to the protocol is not the token price chart directly.
Yeah, exactly.
So many protocols just focus on the price charts.
Yeah.
What we have been focused on more than anything is the core protocol on the product basis, which is what we've seen incredible growth with over the last few weeks, especially topping over 500 million of TVL.
Yeah.
Now, on top of that, the token launch specifically was very well structured in the sense that we wanted to make sure the tokenomics were well distributed. We wanted to make sure the Sexes Exchange are open for deep liquidity and global access to SLX. And we also want to make sure that DEX venues on a DeFi basis had access.
Yeah.
In order to structure all of those things properly, there has to be a healthy balance between mercenary sell pressure right off the rip out of 2G, as well as product utility out to the market. So that's why we launched SLX directly on day one with utility to all token holders, including things like STSLX, including direct utility of SLX, utilizing it in the protocol for our multiple products. Those are the type of things that drive a successful token launch. And that also drives very natural market dynamics.
Yeah.
If you look at a price chart for SLX of what happened at the RIP, what we're seeing is very natural, organic recognition of the protocol's value and the utility of the SLX token. SLX is the thesis of our fundamentals as a protocol, and that's shown in everything that we've done here.
Yeah, like when it comes to the TGE specifically, I think you guys beat the expectations even from Poly Market, because I mean, not everyone was expecting like having a FDV of 200 million after the one day after launch.
Absolutely.
And I mean, that was astonishing in my opinion, because when I saw what the people were talking about SLX before, just the day before TG, I was like, this has to be like a planned attack on the company, because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But the way you handled the vesting and everything, I think that's really professional and technically well planned.
It's a very good point. So when you look at the price charting, about 85 to 90% of token launches over the last couple months have been down.
Exactly.
And so one of the major things that you normally, traditionally, I've been in the crypto industry since about 2013, and unfortunately this is still the game, is you try to make the max FTV hype possible, sustain, and then it gets liquidated. We priced ours very conservatively off the rip because effectively we looked at the market fundamentals of similar yield protocols in the space. I'll say similar loosely because there's a lot of things Solstice is doing differently here. But tokenized yield solutions. The FDV to TVL ratio is one of the major fundamental sticking points that I want to highlight here.
Yeah.
And typically what you look at is you look at how much TVL is in the protocol versus the FDV. Now at launch, a lot of these protocols have seen anywhere in the range of 2 to 14x off the bat.
Yeah.
And then they settled in the range of anywhere from 0.3 to 0.6 of that FDV to TVL ratio.
Yeah.
We came out the gate at an initial price point of 130 million FDV. And why? Because at the time that was marked at a 0.4 ratio right in the middle of that settled range.
Yeah.
So we said, if there's going to be a place for us to grow, let's start at the place where we deserve to be across the board. And since then we've grown in TVL, which raises our fundamentals. We've grown in product launches. We've grown in narrative, grown in SLX utilities.
Yeah.
And that's compounding value that sets new floors higher than where you launch at. And that's the type of structuring that is most important. It's all driven by fundamentals as opposed to just hype premiums that we've seen in the market.
Yeah, and we did reach out to other users who have participated in the campaign, who are holders of the SLX, and one question that they had, knowing that we were going to have this episode, was what was the thought process behind the Binance Alpha listing? And
Absolutely.
yeah, just walk us through that.
Absolutely. So as everyone knows, we are a Solana protocol.
Yeah.
We are SBL tokens. SLX is natively issued on SBL Solana. Now, Binance Alpha is a very key part of the SEX exchange unlock process. Now, what we want to make sure is that we have both central exchange processes and DeFi exchange processes launching at the same time congruently. In order to have the centralized processes, the kickoff for that typically is a Binance Alpha launch followed by other exchanges unlocking. Now, that's typically where you get integrated, and that's the world's largest SEX exchange. Let's be honest. If you want deep liquidity and you want global access for any token launch, Binance is categorically one of the major players that you should be looking to work with. And as part of that process, Binance Alpha is part of that.
Yeah.
So yes, look, in a fully decentralized world and full liquidity in those decentralized pools, yes, there's a true principle of the DeFi nature that I definitely believe in myself, and there's others in the ecosystem that do. But in order for the max exposure and a successful, healthy chart with deep liquidity, you need to work with the SEX exchanges properly.
Yeah.
And Binance has been a great trading partner for us over the last several years as well. And on the listing side, it was a very great opening with the Binance futures opening as well just recently.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, we've talked about TGE and we've talked about like what you guys have been building since we had our last talk. Like, what's the next steps for you guys? Like, what are you planning to do in the next few months? Because the market, I think, is slowly, like, maybe not in price action, but like money is flowing in. Something is going on behind the scenes. So maybe we're gonna be back as an industry. So like, what are your next steps?
Yeah, you give us alpha for the airdrop. Now give us alpha for
the
next
real
few
thing.
months.
I got two good alpha drops for you here. So number one, first and foremost, SLX utility is going to continue to increase.
Perfect.
The roadmap is outlined clearly in the white paper. You're able to see exactly where we're moving with that. For example, instant redemption for your EUSX fund holdings while you're a holder of SLX.
Yeah.
That's a direct value to end users that they can capitalize on. Now, on top of that, the risk curve for our yielding products is going to evolve rapidly.
Yep.
And it's starting with Stretch USX,
Yeah.
which has just been announced over the last 24 hours here. Stretch USX focused on an STRC-based product with the STRC as the underlying asset, separated into two risk tranches of junior and senior risk tranche.
Yeah.
One targeting on the junior side with a bit higher risk, upwards of 29% yield, while the senior tranche targeting about 8% yield. That's going to be an institutionalized yield strategy on chain.
Yeah.
It's not a tokenized asset of STRC. It's a tokenized yield strategy, and there's a very different value proposition there because the yield is fully managed in-house by a provider that is proven with a track record. On top of that, we're happy to slightly announce the Alpha as well, or product that we're leading to after STRC as well, which is going to be the next focus point for us, is going to be focused around GPU yield financing.
Okay.
So how that works is effectively our main backer of Solstice is Deus Ex Capital. And within the portfolio, 40 plus portfolio companies, you have multiple leading AI companies. So in our direct backyard, we have access to some of the leading GPU financing solutions in the world. We're able to tokenize that yield and again, make it one-click simple access to different risk, different yield opportunities, different tenors, etc., that you're able to participate in.
Yeah.
Delta neutral is an amazing strategy, but we all know basis has been a bit compressed. It's a great sustainable strategy that's at a very low risk profile because of its Sharpe ratio.
Yeah.
We're going to start to add additional strategies along that risk curve and really fill it out so that way any user anywhere in the world can enter Solstice and have one-click access to the yield strategy that they choose.
Yeah. Now speaking of STRC, now I could be entirely wrong here, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Ondo did also the same thing with the STRC, but it did receive a lot of criticism. I don't remember the exact details of back then, but like, how are you guys like approaching this differently from what they did?
STRC has been there's a lot of different tokenized versions on the world from a lot of different protocols. We are not a simple tokenized equity play or a tokenized private credit play. It is a tokenized yield strategy. So what does that mean? That means we are managing the yield in-house. We're showing you exactly where we allocate the investments to. We've allocated with a very specific in-house developed white labeled solution for bifurcating the risk of senior and junior risk tranches.
Yeah.
And we're offering that with hedge downside protection. That type of yield strategy as a tokenized play is not something that we're seeing out in the market. This is the first of its kind coming out with STRC USX. And that's what we're going to start to see evolve more and more.
Now, this might be a bit unrelated, but the whole theme, not just of proof of talk, but of crypto right now is institutions. Like everything is suits and ties. I mean, look at us. I mean, myself. I would rather do this in a beanbag, wearing a hoodie and something like that, being comfortable. But that's just the theme. But like, you can't feed this view. Like my whole point is that yields are normalizing for the average retail user as well, and for a very long time that was the whole selling point of why they should keep their money on DeFi and not on banks. But now with all of these yields normalizing and with banks venturing into crypto as well, yes, it's TradFi and crypto are merging basically, but where does that leave the retail user?
It's important to note the yields in some regard are normalized.
Yeah.
However, there's a lot of very specific yields that you're able to access much more seamlessly, lower fees, and with self-custody of those assets that you do not get in TradFi.
Yeah.
The second part is there's also compounding value. EUSX is a perfect example of this. You can invest once in a delta neutral protocol on TradFi and get the same yields similarly that we're accessing. The difference is you can go do things with your EUSX and DeFi now. You can go PTYT systems on Exponent. You can go to Camino and go borrow lend against that asset. You can do things to further optimize your capital along that chain, so that way it's max capital optimization at every single point. You cannot do that in TradFi in a similar way.
Yeah.
Because the structures do not exist like they do in DeFi. And that's one of the major points that's why also we built so much on the Solana ecosystem, because that composability is natural to that L1 ecosystem. Yeah. And that's what's allowed to this capital optimization to occur that is not accessible in TradFi at all.
That's true.
Yeah, and I think this is the whole idea behind Solstice, right? Like, take your yield back. So
take your yield back.
Literally doing that for retail users, and I think one of the main selling points for our industry right now, and that even the bankers, I think, not all of them, but some of them are loving, is that everyone can be a participant in the financial world, and basically that's crucial if you want like the market to continue growing, like capitalism.
Exactly. And DeFi is going to expect, the thing I love about it is that all users should expect more out of DeFi.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is specifically in respect to TradFi. What you expect out of a financial advisor or financial management platform in TradFi, you should expect more out of DeFi, because DeFi can deliver more.
Yes.
And we're constantly proving that day by day. And that's why we're seeing continued institutional participation in Solstice. And that's why we're on a growth trajectory alongside lots of our other peers in the industry right now, because of that fact. Users are expecting more and DeFi is delivering more.
So where do you see like Solstice in the next 3 years, man? I mean, you guys have been growing exponentially since we last spoke. And I'm going to say this as a retail user, not as someone who's doing the podcast right now.
We're institutional now.
Yeah, like, I didn't expect this level of growth, and I did believe in Solstice when we had the first conversation, but this level of growth to me is a bit too much, since I've seen crypto projects, promise and under-deliver, and you guys have been keeping up with your promises. So like, where do you see yourself in the next 2 years?
And I will give credit to the entire global Solstice teams. It's an incredibly hardworking team. You can ask about the hours that these teams are putting in right now. They're probably not too happy with me on that regard, but they're a fantastic group of individuals. But bottom line is this: we're building yield solutions that are able to scale.
Yeah.
500 million in my mark is great. It's fantastic, and we're grateful to be hitting this point. But we have solutions that are able to scale to billions.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to show. Very few protocols out in the space, they're scaled to tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions, etc. But then they start to cap off. Having yield solutions that can scale to billions is what's going to break our industry to the next evolution here. So that's what we're looking to do. We're going to have a wide risk curve of multiple products along that risk curve, all easily accessible. SLX is going to be woven across all that yield curve correctly. On top of all that, we're going to see lots of new institutions which participate because of the new yield opportunities that are coming about. And on top of it all, it's going to be holding the same DeFi principles that we built the company on. Yeah. So having ability to scale transparently with the right types of people, it's just everything to us. And that's why I see Solstice growing much farther than 500 million.
Yeah. And speaking of Solstice, if I'm not mistaken, the ICO was planned so that there's some winter solstice. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. So it was planned for the winter solstice. We tried to keep the solstice theme across the board, but as anybody knows in the industry, the TGE process has a lot of moving parts. For us, coordinating over 48 partners to ensure a successful launch here. So.
Yeah, because I was going to ask, that's like poetic, and when you think of it on a PR sense, it makes sense, and it's brilliant in my opinion. But do you think like if the timing was different, you could have made more out of it? I mean,
I think it was the right timing because look, we saw a major bear market over the last, Q4, Q1.
Yeah.
That's what we saw directly. And emerging out of that, we're seeing obviously Bitcoin come through a bit of a identity crisis in the market.
Yeah.
But what's quietly building underneath is the DeFi activity.
Yeah.
More institutions, more capital is flowing, more user integrations are happening, more developer activity is happening than ever.
Yeah.
And that's quietly happening in the background. While Bitcoin still has that spotlight, DeFi is about to take that spotlight in a very large and global scale. With Solstice being one of those players alongside a major group of amazing companies in the DeFi industry.
Yeah. Should we expect Ollie Bearman to rep the Solstice again?
Yes, we very much love that, and we definitely should expect more Solstice integration with the F1 scene. That we saw from our parent or investor, SLX Capital, who has proudly sponsors Ollie Bearman. We were very, very grateful to support him and the Haas team.
Well, Ben, thank you so much again for your time. It was a huge pleasure and very insightful conversation as well, because as I said, we became Solstice users when we had the discussion back in Abu Dhabi, and yeah, it feels like full circle. And I mean this in every sense of the way, that we should ignore noise. A lot of people can say whatever they want, and I know you said that the price action and the chart is not like the best indicator to look at how healthy a project is, but even if you look at that, you guys have done remarkably well. I mean, the price is well above the TGE price, and yeah, congrats on everything.
That means the world. And look, here from a user perspective, that's what we care most about. We sit down deeply with a lot of our users to figure out what that journey looks like, and it's great to hear the feedback and great to see you guys again in a beautiful location. So
yeah, I don't think we could have picked a better view anywhere.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, it's picturesque, and it's what Solstice is as well.
Yeah, like we're gonna have to take some pictures, professional pictures right here.
absolutely, absolutely.
All right, thank you, Ben.
Thank you guys so much for the time.